Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Total Football Talk. So we're going to look at all the latest news coming out of Manchester United, and we're going to look at, in particular, it's a dark time around the club, and the 1958 are putting a march on, which is taking place on Sunday. So we're going to look at the details on that and the press release that has just come out. We're also going to look at what James Ducker has said about Manchester United and what their take on that they're preparing for the Europa League. I'd love to know how we're going to get into that. So, in terms of our current league position, but yeah, we'll have a brief look at that. We'll also look at that Onana wants to stay and he doesn't want to go. We'll have a look at that. We'll look at Maignan from AC Milan as a possible replacement. Do we think he is a goalkeeper Manchester United will go for? I have some thoughts on that one, which are quite interesting. And then there's a couple of other little bits like, let me just get to the bottom of my notes. There's another story about Anthony and where Real Betis are with that. And then there's a funny one about Zirkzee and the young kid Max Dowmans, who is the Arsenal kid, the 15-year-old wonder kid who played in the FA Youth Cup. Him and Zirkzee had a little sort of tete-a-tete, as they say, across Twitter, or X as they call it now. But yeah, look, we're going to look at the first story, and that is the 1958, a protest against the Glazers and the club, which will be so there. This is kind of a rallying cry. So if you want to get involved, there be at the toll gate for 3 p.m. 9th of March, which is this Sunday against Arsenal. Bring the heat, bring the noise, bring the passion. So yeah, from 3 p.m. they're going to march behind a large banner, and then they're going to start on the toll gate, head down towards Talbot Road, Warwick Road, and then onto Sir Matt Busby Way, and then towards Trinity before heading down the Munich Tunnel. Sort of more details to follow. So that's kind of the details on the march. I'm going to try and get down to the march myself and see if I can do some filming down. As a United fan, I don't really get the chance to go to games. I don't have a ticket to go to games on a particular. I don't really want to give the Glazers any money, so I won't be no mega store for me. But yeah, this is very dark times for Manchester United. The club is in peril at the minute, and we are suffering. And essentially, the 58 wants everyone. I'll show the press release in a second. I'm not going to read it all because I just can't actually see it properly on my screen. But the 1958 have released a press release, and they want everyone to get involved. They want families. They want United supporters, non-United supporters. They want just everyone to come together and march against what is happening to our club, because the club is being destroyed from within, from without, from all over the place. We are left in dark times, and as they say in their press release, Sir Matt Busby will be turning in his grave if he actually seen the state of the club, what's actually happening to the club, and how the club's actually being run at the minute. It's literally being run into the ground, and it's now time for the uprising of supporters before we head into oblivion, because we are so, we should not be standing for a club of our stature to be 14th in the league, and it doesn't look like we're going to be getting, we're not going to be rising up the league anytime soon, because the squad's depleted. Rubin Amorim's got very little to work with. We're kind of relying on the youth, which, obviously the youth is a massive part of Manchester United's history and their culture, and maybe they will be the ones to get us out of it, but they shouldn't have to be. The club should be run in a much better and more efficient way. But yet, no, we're left in turmoil. We're left with parasites running the club. We're left with people who failed at previous businesses coming into this business and now failing. We've been left with the Glazers, who kind of ripped the soul out of this club and have been doing for 20 years and don't care about the club. They really have no care whatsoever. So we are kind of left in a perilous situation, and everyone is kind of clubbing together, trying to do something to, move the club back up to where it should be, even though that's going to take a long time. And maybe is the first port of call trying to get these people out of the club and bringing in owners who actually want to, bring the club into the 21st century. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but you get my drift. We are on our knees, and we need to find a way to sort of rise up again. So yeah, so the 58 released this statement. Unfortunately, I can't put it on my screen to read it properly. And go through it all, but essentially they want families, and they want people to get out there on the streets. They want to follow the march. They want you to be part of their process of trying to help, be in the first steps of eliminating the Glazers. They want people to wear all blacks. They want people to come together and stand for what Manchester United is, and hopefully push, at least be the starting point to help push these people out of the club, or at least to resonate with them the disdain and how much we're actually suffering at the minute with their ownership. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are with that. Very important day. On this kind of overshadows the game against Arsenal, I think, which is an important game. It's a big game in our fixture list. But I think the fact that we as supporters are out there trying to do what we can to show the owners where they're going wrong is kind of almost more important. It supersedes everything else that's going on at the minute. And so there was a James Ducker talking about money. James Ducker has an article in the Telegraph, and he says that Manchester United are budgeting going forward under the assumption that they will qualify for the Europa League for the next 4 years. A marked change after years of budgeting for the Champions League knockout stages. Now, where do we go with that one? Because are we going to get Europa League this year? I mean, I don't think so. Unless Rubin Amorim pulls off a miracle and we win the Europa League and get into the Champions League, which what we need to do. That's what needs to happen. We need to find a way to make that happen. But I just think we're in trouble. I don't think we will say a miracle with that squad, heavily depleted, and depleted with injuries and depleted with players haven't been sold or being moved on or haven't gone out on loan. Rubin Amorim's been left with absolutely nothing to work with. He is doing his best, and I just don't know how we win the Europa League. But I actually, even qualification for the Europa League next year, having to get into the top six with the squad that we currently have. How do we reinvest in the squad? Spoke about it before. Cannot see us reinvesting in this bloody squad. It's just not going to happen if they don't make European football. Because where's the money coming from? The debt's rising. It's going up all the time, and obviously these marches are to signify where we are with everything and how much we need to change without the whole shebang. It's brutal. But as I said, this is a new show and I'll try and do it in 10 minutes. Guys, if you're liking the content, thank you very much for watching. I'm Keith, I'm the host of this little channel. And if you would like to give me a like and subscribe, that would be absolutely magic. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, subscribe button would be brilliant. Or we like too would help me out. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to a little bit of other news. And this is kind of footballing news. Again, it's not great news, unfortunately, but Andre Onana is intent on staying at Manchester United next season despite his struggling form. Rubin Amorim wants to sign a new goalkeeper in the summer, but Onana considers United the only club for him. Now, I think it's twofold. One, he doesn't want to leave because he's on a cushy number with his wage. And two, there probably is a bit of him that believes that he can turn this around. But I don't know if we've seen enough. We've seen a patch at the start of the season where he was good. He made some unbelievable saves. But unfortunately, he's kind of fallen back into the old Onana that we existed last season, who's been absolutely shocking. And I've kind of come to the end of my tether with Onana. I just don't know if he's good enough to resurrect his career at Manchester United. I would really love to see us bring in another goalkeeper. And there is another story about another goalkeeper, which I'll bring in. But yeah, again, pinch of salt. Is it going to happen? We need so many players. We need a goalkeeper. We need centre backs. We need 10s. We need wing back. We need I mean, no way, especially if we don't get any type of European football, we are not bringing in all the players that Rubin Amorim needs. He will have to go into the youth and pray to God that they are good enough. But yeah, so that's where we are with Onana. Drop your thoughts in below. What do you think? What do you think about the protests that are happening? Are you going to be going? Drop me a line. Let me know what your thoughts. I'm going to try and get down and do some filming myself. And then let's just see what else happens and transpires over between now and the Arsenal game. What is actually going to happen? How these protests will kind of come to the forefront, and news like Onana wanting to stay will probably drift into the background, which is totally understandable. But on the football front, I do think we need a new goalkeeper. And when we come back to that, we'll look at another possibility is Manchester United are studying the market for a new goalkeeper. And we're looking at Maignan from AC Milan if Andre Onana leaves in the summer. Now, I mean, Maignan is a very good goalkeeper from what I've seen. Problem is he's very injury prone. Do we need another injury prone person in our setup? Because we've got enough of them. I've already talked about players that we're talking about bringing in. We don't need to bring in anyone who's injury prone. We need players who are established, who are players who are fit to wear the jersey and who are actually fit enough to stay on the pitch longer than 5 minutes and not break down. That's where I am with that. I also don't know how we get the money. I'm not sure where Maignan's contract is, and that news was coming through from Sport Witness. Pinch of salt. I think Rubin probably does want a goalkeeper, but I just don't know how he gets one, because I just don't see how we do it. I just don't. Moving on to Anthony now. Anthony is along with Real Betis, Juventus, and two Saudi pro clubs. They are also interested in the signing of Anthony. Now, Anthony's doing really well in Spain. Rubin Amorim has addressed this, and he has said that he thinks he technically suits the Spanish matches because they're not as physical, they're not as quick. And I do believe that Manchester United, or that Anthony, is a better fit playing for Real Betis. Now, there's talk about Real Betis offering 25 million. United want maybe 35 million. Maybe we'll meet in the middle and we'll get somewhere around 30 million for Manchester United in the summer for Real Betis. I think that's about as far as they can probably go, because his wages might be, I think, a bit of an issue. Maybe there will be other clubs that will look in, as they said, Juventus. But I mean, Juventus aren't exactly flush with cash either. So it will be interesting to see what happens, but I think Anthony's doing a good job out there. He's putting himself back in the shop window, and fair play to him, and hopefully we can move him on in summer and get a little bit of cash in, because oh my god, do we need it. And then the last, going to wrap up with this last little bit now. Joshua Zirkzee and the young Arsenal kid had a bit of a spat on Twitter, and this is just a bit of light-hearted stuff. Obviously, he had a dig at Zirkzee missing the penalty, I think, because obviously Zirkzee was enjoying whenever we knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup, so this kid's having a dig back. Max Dowmans is a very, very good player. I seen him play against United Youth FA Cup team the other night in the quarterfinals. Kid's brilliant and one to watch in the future. But, I don't like this. I don't like him coming out thinking he can just have a bit of a dig at Zirkzee. I like the fact that Zirkzee had a little bit of a dig back about already having been 23 and having won more Champions Leagues than Arsenal. But I mean, a bit of banter, I get it. I just think the kid needs to be careful, because if he starts down this kind of social media banter path route, it could come back to really hurt him in the future. Because giving a little bit of banter right now when you're a nobody is one thing, but when you actually become somebody, which he may well do, he's going to have to potentially live with a lot of grief if he doesn't live up to the standards that are already kind of being bestowed upon him. So yeah, if I was Max Dowmans, just be very careful about how you go and how you conduct yourself on your social media platform at this stage. Having a dig at Zirkzee, was it needed? I don't think so, but obviously the kid wants to have a bit of fun. So, so just be careful where it all leads to. But okay, guys, that's your news rounded up in about 10-12 minutes. Sorry, I went over a little bit. As I said, the marches are taking place on Sunday. If you get yourself down there, we can support the march. And let's see what actually happens during the march, and let's see what impact it has on the Glazers and Ineos, because we need to have an impact on them. And yeah, if you're wearing all black, maybe I'll see you, or maybe I won't be able to spot you. Okay, guys, thanks very much for listening. I'm Keith, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.